Carol walked along the beach, feeling the warm sand beneath her bare feet. Her long brown hair swayed gently with the sea breeze, and her eyes reflected the ocean's sparkle. Carol had always loved the sea. It was her refuge, her place of peace. But that day, not even the soothing sound of the waves could calm the storm in her heart. A few meters away, Scott watched his girlfriend with a mix of love and concern. His hair tousled by the wind and his eyes full of affection. Scott knew Carol better than anyone and knew that something was bothering her. He approached slowly, holding in his hands a small velvet box that contained all his dreams and hopes for the future. Carol and Scott had been together for 5 years. They had met in college, and from the first moment they knew they had found something special. Carol was an only child, raised with all the love and dedication by her parents, especially her mother, with whom she had a deep bond. Scott came from a large, welcoming family that had embraced Carol from the beginning, as if she were a daughter. The two formed a couple admired by everyone. Carol, with her sweet and determined personality, was a social worker and loved her job helping families in vulnerable situations. Scott, on the other hand, was a young executive on the rise at a large technology company. Both were building their careers and dreaming of a future together. Everything seemed perfect until a few months ago, when Carol's mother had a stroke that left her with serious sequelae. Suddenly, the young woman's world was turned upside down. Without thinking twice, Carol quit her job to help her father take care of her mother. It was a difficult decision, but she knew it was the right thing to do. Meanwhile, Scott's career was taking off. He had just received a promotion offer that seemed like something out of a dream. A leadership position at a branch of the company on the other side of the country, with a salary that would allow him and Carol to live comfortably for many years. One afternoon, Scott decided to share the news with his father, a middle-aged man with kind eyes and a welcoming smile. They were sitting in the backyard of the family home, surrounded by the aroma of roses that Scott's mother cultivated with such care. "Father, I need to tell you something," Scott began, his voice a mix of excitement and apprehension. "I received an incredible offer at work. It's that promotion I've always dreamed of." His father's face lit up with pride. "That's wonderful, son. I'm so happy for you. You deserve this after all your hard work." Scott smiled, but his expression soon became serious. "The problem is I would have to move to the other side of the country." Scott's father frowned, immediately understanding his son's dilemma. "And Carol?" Scott let out a heavy sigh. "That's why I'm going to turn down the offer, Dad. I know Carol would never leave her mother now, and I don't want to be away from her. I love her too much." His father tried to argue, reminding Scott of how this was the opportunity he had always worked for. But the young man was determined. With a sparkle in his eyes, he took a small velvet box out of his pocket. "Actually, Dad, I'm planning to propose to Carol in the next few days," Scott said, opening the box to reveal a delicate engagement ring. "Other job opportunities will come, but Carol is one of a kind." Scott's father looked at his son with a mix of admiration and concern. "Are you sure about this, son? Don't you think it's better to talk to Carol about this opportunity?" Scott shook his head. "I'd rather she doesn't know. I don't want her to feel guilty. My decision is already made." That same night, Scott's family organized a dinner to celebrate his mother's birthday. Carol was there, of course, but she seemed distant, lost in thought. Scott's father watched her for a moment and decided to approach her. "How is your mother doing, dear?" he asked gently. Carol forced a smile. "She's improving little by little, but we still have a long way to go." Scott's father nodded understandingly. After a moment of hesitation, he decided to speak. "Carol, there's something I think you should know. Scott received an incredible job offer, but he's thinking about turning it down." Carol's eyes widened in surprise. "What do you mean? What offer?" Scott's father explained about the promotion, the salary, the move to the other side of the country. With each word, Carol's face grew paler. "But why didn't he tell me?" she asked, her voice almost a whisper. "He doesn't want you to feel guilty. Scott loves you very much, Carol. He's willing to give up this opportunity for you." Scott's father's words weighed on Carol like lead. She barely managed to sleep that night, her mind a whirlwind of conflicting thoughts and emotions. A few days later, Scott invited Carol for a walk on the beach. It was a special place for them, full of happy memories. As they walked hand in hand, Scott noticed that Carol was acting strange, distant. "Is everything okay, love? Is it your mum?" he asked, concerned. Carol stopped walking, releasing Scott's hand. Her green eyes were full of tears when she finally spoke. "Scott, I don't think I feel for you the way I used to." Scott's world seemed to collapse. The box with the engagement ring felt like an anchor in his pocket. "What do you mean, Carol?" "I think I don't love you anymore," she said, the words coming out as if each one were a stab to her own heart. Scott was stunned, unable to process what he was hearing. "Carol, please tell me what's going on. What did I do?" Carol just shook her head, tears streaming down her face. "It's better this way, Scott," she said, before turning and leaving Scott alone on the beach, heartbroken and with shattered dreams. In the days that followed, Scott wandered around the town like a ghost. His parents tried to console him, but nothing seemed to relieve the pain he felt. It was then that he made a decision. He would accept the promotion and move away. Perhaps the distance and a new beginning were exactly what he needed to heal his broken heart. The news of Scott's departure spread quickly. Carol heard about it through mutual friends and felt like her world was falling apart. She knew she had done the right thing by letting Scott go, giving him the freedom to pursue his dreams without feeling tied down by her and her responsibilities. But the idea of losing him forever was unbearable. On the morning of Scott's departure, the train station was bustling. People were coming and going, carrying luggage and bidding farewell to loved ones. Scott was there, alone, with a suitcase at his feet and a heavy heart. He looked at the tracks, thinking about how drastically his life had changed in such a short time. Then he heard a familiar voice calling his name. Scott turned around and saw Carol running towards him, breathless and with eyes red from crying so much. "Scott, wait!" she shouted, stopping in front of him. "Please forgive me. I lied to you." Scott looked at her confused. "What are you talking about, Carol?" Carol took a deep breath, gathering the courage to speak. "I never stopped loving you. In fact, I love you more than ever. I didn't want to be the reason you stayed stagnant professionally. Your father told me about the promotion, and I thought the only way to make you accept it was to push you away." Carol's words hit Scott like a lightning bolt. He stared at her, trying to process everything he was hearing. "You lied to make me go away?" Carol nodded, tears streaming down her face. "I thought I was doing the right thing, that you deserved this opportunity and I couldn't be selfish keeping you here with me and my problems. But I can't bear the idea of you leaving, thinking that I don't love you." Scott remained silent for a moment, his heart racing. Then slowly a smile began to form on his lips. "Carol, you are amazing, you know. Amazing and completely crazy." He pulled her into a tight embrace, feeling her body tremble against his. "I love you more than any promotion or job opportunity. You are my family, my home. There's no success worth having without you by my side." Carol sobbed against Scott's chest, relieved and happy. "I'm sorry for being such an idiot. I promise never to make decisions for both of us on my own again." Scott pulled back a little, just enough to look into Carol's eyes. With a mischievous smile, he said, "Well, since we're here, I think I can ask the question I was planning to ask that day at the beach." He knelt down right there on the bustling platform of the station, feeling his heart race. He reached into his pocket, but soon realized he didn't have the ring. Not even in his most optimistic dreams did he imagine he would still make that proposal. His fingers searched for anything that was there until they found a small paperclip. Without hesitation, he took it and with a determined smile began folding it, hurriedly shaping it into a ring. When he finished, he held up the improvised symbol of commitment and looked at Carol, his eyes shining with emotion. "Carol, my love, my best friend, my partner in everything. I don't have the ring I planned to give you, but I am absolutely certain that I want to spend my life by your side. Would you do me the honor of marrying me?" Carol's tears were now of pure happiness. "Yes, Scott. Of course. Yes." Scott gently slid the improvised ring onto her finger, and Carol let out a laugh through her tears, holding his hand tightly as if she never wanted to let it go. The train's whistle sounded in the background, announcing its departure, but Scott didn't even look back. He had everything he needed right there in his arms. The passengers around applauded the couple, creating a scene worthy of a romantic movie. Scott and Carol kissed passionately, sealing their promise of love and mutual commitment. In the days that followed, Scott and Carol had much to discuss and plan. Scott explained to the company about his decision to stay, surprising himself upon discovering that they were willing to create a position for him at the local branch, recognizing his talent and dedication. Carol in turn found a middle ground between caring for her mother and resuming her career. With the help of Scott and her parents, she was able to organize a care scheme that allowed her to return to work part-time as a social worker. Carol's mother continued her recovery, making slow but steady progress. Seeing her daughter happy and fulfilled alongside Scott seemed to give her even more strength to fight. The wedding took place 6 months later, in an intimate ceremony on the same beach where everything had almost ended. This time, however, there were no tears of sadness, only of joy. Carol's mother, although still in a wheelchair, was there, beaming with pride as she watched her daughter walk down the aisle. As the sun set on the horizon, painting the sky with the same colors as that fateful day on the beach, Scott and Carol danced their first dance as husband and wife. The gentle sound of the waves in the background seemed to cradle their renewed and strengthened love. And so, with their feet in the sand and their hearts full of love and hope, Scott and Carol began the next chapter of their lives, knowing that as long as they were together, they could face any storm life might throw at them. If you enjoyed the story, please leave a comment with a rating from 1 to 5 to show how much you liked it. Also, watch the video that is now appearing on your screen. See you soon.